Hey magicians, welcome back to my channel. So this is another one of my very irregular uploads. I'm back in the US for a couple of months for work, and that means I'm able to shop for Breyers in stores, which is awesome because you can't do that over in Europe. And so I did a little bit of shopping at Cal Ranch, and I ended up getting all 6 of the 2024 Stablemates Horse Foal surprise sets, including the unicorns. And I don't really collect the unicorns, but these were cute and I really wanted to film a video, so I decided just to get them. And then while I was there, I also grabbed 4 of these blind bags. These are the Series 4 blind bags, and I also typically don't get blind bags because you don't really know what you're getting, but they are easier to look at in store because you can kind of cheat and feel them and figure out what model is in there. So I did a little bit of that, and I'm pretty sure I don't have any doubles, but I'm gonna open them on camera for you guys just as a fun little bonus to add to this video. Okay, that's enough intro. Let's get to the fun part. Okay, here's our first family. This one is listed on the website as the Radiant Hills family. And Dad here is on the G3 Standing Thoroughbred molds, and he's a Bay Tobiano paint stallion. He's really, really, really pretty. I love the shading on this model. If you look close at his face, you can see they've done a really nice job shading the muzzle and the eyes. And the painting on the mane is a little bit faded out around the edges, but it still looks really good. And he's got 4 white stockings, as you can see. The only thing I don't like about this mold is the tail. It's cut in a bang at the bottom, which I know is pretty common, but I just don't like the way it looks. But other than that, the markings are really crisp, and I think he looks pretty good. Mom is on the G2 Paso Fino mare mold, and she is just a red dun. You can see she's got the little primitive marking here, and she's got a dark mane and tail, although they're not super dark. I suppose they could be a little darker for a dun. And you can see the painting on her face isn't quite as nice. You can see her eyes aren't completely blacked out, but I think I've mentioned this in previous videos. That's a pretty easy problem to fix. You just get some black paint on there and some clear nail polish and you're good to go. So I can do that. And then our surprise foal is, surprise, on the G2 Scrambling Foal mold, which I think is the most commonly used mold in all of Breyer. I swear every single foal is on this mold. But he is really, really cute. He's a chestnut Tobiano Pinto, so he's sort of a mix of mom and dad. You can see he doesn't have those dark points, so he's a chestnut, not a bay. But he does have those 4 white stockings, just like dad. And those markings are really crisp, which is nice to see on a foal. I think it's harder to get crisp markings at the smaller scale, but they've done a nice job. And he's got a little stripe on his nose. So very cute. I don't believe I have a chestnut pinto on this mold, so I'm excited to add him to my collection. Alright, our second family is listed on the website as the Elegant Pastures family. Dad is on the G5 Irish Draft mold, which is also called Corbin, so it's a pretty new mold. And I'm very excited to have him because I actually don't have any horses on this mold yet, so he's my first. Let's have a good look at it. This mold is really pretty. It does have a little bit of a bang on the tail, but not quite as bad as the Standing Thoroughbred. And he has a really elegant nose. It's curved downwards here. I really like his face. The mold seems to stand pretty well. The feet are placed kind of narrow, so I can see this being tippy, especially in a conga line, but it doesn't immediately fall over like some of them do. And the definition on the muscles is really nice as well. Now he's just gray, he's got dark points. I suppose you could call him possibly a flea-bitten gray, but we don't see much flecking going on here. And he's got a little bit of white at the end of his tail, so a nice, simple, elegant color. Don't see any white markings here. Mom is on the M1 Indian Pony mold, so this is a miniature version of a traditional mold. This one came out a few years ago. I think she's my second model on this mold. And if we have a look, the definition is pretty nice. She has a really cute little face. There's something about this mold, especially the front legs, that bothers me just a little. I feel like this particular leg looks a little too short compared to the others. And then when you stand her, she looks like she's about to fall over forwards. But they're just trying to stay faithful to the original mold, and it is still really cute. She is just buckskin. I think she's intended to be a Mustang. She's got a stripe on her face and one half stocking on her rear foot back here. No primitive markings, but she does have dark points, and she's pretty cute. Our little surprise foal here is, surprise, on the G2 trotting foal mold, which is also pretty commonly used. And he's just plain black with a star. So really simple color here. He does have, if you look, one of his feet, nope, two of them are a little bit lighter than the others. I'm not sure if that's intentional, but it looks like he could have a little bit of a white marking there, maybe a cornet that's going to come in later. He is very cute. I do like this mold. His little face is especially cute. One thing I don't like about it is that it falls over pretty easily. He will be very tippy, so I'll have to be careful when I set him up. But altogether, this family's pretty cute. They look nice together. Alright, third up, we have the Sunset Ridge family. Dad is on the G2 Prancing Morgan mold, so it's one of the older molds, but it's still one of my favorites. It's just so gorgeous. The movement in the hair looks really nice, and he also stands pretty stably because of that nice long tail. So let's have a closer look at him. He's a Palomino Morgan stallion. His eyes aren't completely painted either, but he does have a cute face with a nice broad blaze and nice crisp lines on that mane and tail, which of course are white. There's a little bit of extra paint here on this side. He's got looks like two socks, or one sock and a half stocking in the back, and no other white markings. And he's a really nice dark Palomino. I hope the camera is picking that up. He's not as bright as some of the other Palominos I've seen in recent years, so he looks pretty good. Mom is on the G6 stock horse mold, which is also called Cassidy, and she is my first on this mold as well, so I'm excited to add her into my collection. She's also a blue roan, which is one of my favorite colors, so we got sort of a double whammy of excitement here. Getting a closer look at this mold, there's nice definition on the mane and tail, especially the mane. Look at that, it looks really nice. It's painted black, of course. It looks like there's a little bit of a defect here on her front right shoulder. I'm not sure if you can see that. There's something sort of stuck on there. I think it just might be a little bit of extra black paint. Not sure if that's going to come off. She has a snip on her nose right between the nostrils, and it's pink, which is adorable. And she's got half a stocking on the back foot here. The shading on the bay roan does look really nice. So does the flecking, so they've done a good job painting there. Muscle definition isn't quite what it could be, but also this mold doesn't have a lot of muscle definition, so that could be why. But overall, I do like this mold. It looks pretty big for a stablemate. If we put her next to the stallion, she's kind of huge. So maybe the scale is a little bit off there, but she will look nice on my shelf. And then our surprise foal is on the G3 standing foal mold, and he is a bay roan. So I guess he took the roan from Mom. Not sure where the bay comes from, but then again, horse coat color genetics are kind of a mystery. He does not have any white markings that I can see. Nice dark points and a very cute little face, if you can see that. There's not too much black on the muzzle, so you can see the definition in his face pretty well. The flecking on the roan is actually pale instead of black, if you can see that. There are little gray dots on him, which is kind of unusual. I don't think I've seen that before, but it does look pretty cool. I'll have to do some research and see if that's an actual thing that can happen on roans, because I'm not sure if it is. Next up, getting into the unicorns now, we have the Celestial family. So Dad is on the G3 Walking Arabian Stallion mold, and of course they've added a horn. I still haven't figured out how they do that. But he's green or bluish green with some blue shading, and he's got an orange mane and tail, or a sort of a peach color, and he has a gold horn and gold hooves. So a really beautiful color combination here. Kind of reminds me of an ocean. And obviously the entire finish is metallic. One thing Breyer does that I really like on these unicorns is they add a little bit more of that shine or metallic luster to the mane and tail, so they look extra glossy. He looks like he just got out of the wash stall, freshly shampooed and conditioned. He looks really clean. So that's a beautiful color. And then Mom is on the M1 Connemara mare mold. And I love this mold. It's so dynamic, especially the movement in the mane and tail. It looks like there might be a little bit of a mold issue happening on the tail. There's a couple of sharp edges here that haven't been completely trimmed, but I'm not going to mess with those because I don't want to knock off the metallic finish. The painting on the mane also could be neater, but I also have to respect that this mane is very complicated, and so it would take forever to get a clean edge on all of those strands. So I can't complain, really. She is orange or gold, sort of a golden orange color with beautiful gold shading, and she has a pearly white mane and tail and a gold horn and hooves. You can see the tone on the gold here is a little yellower than the tone on her actual body. She's got a tiny bit of shading on the end of her muzzle as well, so she's very pretty. And then our baby, kind of unexpectedly, is dark metallic blue. He does have a gold horn and hooves like both of his parents. He's on the G3 Lying Foal mold. They've added a little horn. I also like that they make the foal horns shorter and duller, as if they're not fully grown yet. That's a cute little detail. This dark metallic blue color is just gorgeous. He reminds me a little bit of the Topaz. They released those crystal themed unicorns, I think 2 years ago. There was one called Topaz that was this color. He was my favorite. And that's who this reminds me of. But together they do look very nice. That is our first unicorn family. Second up, we have the Enchanted family. Dad is on the G5 Walking Thoroughbred mold, and he is a gorgeous sort of topaz or sapphire blue, metallic with a little bit of silver shading. He's got silver points and a silver horn as well. Getting a close look at his face, he's also got some darker shading on the end of his muzzle. That looks like a black or maybe a dark blue there, I can't really tell. The muscle definition and the tail, especially on this mold, are just incredible. Looks really nice. I think you could paint it pretty much any color and it would look good. It's a very slim mold, so it does tip a little bit, but he does have that back foot there to help him out. And he looks really, really nice on this color. Mom is on the Prince Charming mold, which is a little weird. I'm not sure why it's called that, because it is a mare mold. And she's a gorgeous pearly amethyst color, again with that silver shading, so it's a little bit lighter on her sides there. And she has a gold horn and gold hooves, although her legs sort of get silver at the bottom, so it's more of a mixed gold and silver. And she is my first model on this mold. Of course, it does have the horn added, so it's modified. So I can get a close look at it for the first time. The tail looks really good. You can see there's a lot of motion there, and the individual strands are pretty well defined. And the mane comes around on both sides, which is a nice touch. I always like it when they do that. The face is very long. Her head looks pretty large. And she has eyes that are high up and far back. I'm not sure what breed this mold is intended to be. I should look that up. But she's got a really beautiful motion to her. And she and the Walking Thoroughbred mold are about the same scale, which is nice. I think they came out around the same time. So next to each other, they look pretty good as well. There's no scale difference there. And then our surprise foal is on the G3 Standing Foal mold. And She is a beautiful dark pink, and I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but there looks to be sort of a duochrome effect happening there. There's sort of a blue shimmer that's coming off, so that's really pretty. This is one of the nicest colors I've seen on a unicorn, and it almost looks like it could be real, maybe from a distance. That could be a chestnut, like a liver chestnut of some kind. But of course she does have that gold horn and gold hooves as well, so she's really cute. Getting a close-up look at that face, there's not too much shading going on, but the eyes, of course, are dark. So that is our second family. All right, our final family is the Enchanted family, according to the website. And Dad is once again on this Prancing Morgan G2 mold, but this time he's a beautiful pearly white. As you can see, he's white all over. There's almost no shading at all, except that if you really look, he's got gold hooves, and actually the lower portion of his legs are gold. And he's also got that nice gold horn. It's very long. This is such a beautiful color. I do wish there was a little bit more in the way of shading or accents, but the mold is so detailed that the shininess of the paint really sets it off, and I think he does look nice without any extra detail. And Mom is on the G5 Magnolia mold, which I think is intended to be an Arabian. Sort of opposite to Dad, she's a really striking Overo Pinto, a bright blue color with those framed markings. So she's got white on both sides. Not white actually, it's sort of pearly. It's got a metallic finish just like the rest of her. And she's also got a wide blaze on her face, a silver horn, and silver hooves. And let's get a closer look. The shading looks really good, and those markings are really crisp. So this is probably the most striking coloration I've seen on a Stablemates unicorn in a while. So wow, she's really a looker. And then our surprise foal is green. Look at that. And also on a mold that I don't have any other horses on. So this is the G5 Playful Foal. Let's get a closer look. One thing I immediately noticed about this mold is that it's very large, especially compared to some of the other foals we have. Look how much bigger he is. I'm not sure if the camera is picking it up. The scale's a little bit off there, but the head and the body are much larger than most of the other Stablemates foals that I've seen. So maybe he's a little bit older. He's grown up a little bit. But he's a beautiful bright spring green color with a gold horn and gold hooves, and he also has, I guess, silver is the unicorn equivalent of white, so I guess he's got 4 stockings as well. And the end of his nose is also silver, which means I guess that could be a blaze starting to come in. But overall, he is very cute, and I'm excited to have a foal on this mold finally. Awesome, so here are all 6 families, and I've moved them up so they can watch the action, because if you didn't forget, we've also got these 4 blind bags to open. So I'm just going to go ahead and tear these open, and then we can talk about each model. Fingers crossed, let's hope I don't get any doubles. So if we take a look at the back of the blind bag, we can look at our options. Looks like there's a Bay Hanoverian, a Dutch Warm Blood, could be a buckskin. We've got a Chestnut Arabian Cross. This looks like a Gruyere to me. I think it's intended to be an Ardennes according to the website. And then a Flea-Bitten Gray Quarter Horse Reining. There's also a Chase mold, and they've got a Chase model, I should say, and they've got a silhouette here, but I'm not sure if it's actually on this mold. So if we get that one, I guess we'll find out. Now let's check it out. Awesome, we got the Arabian. She's really pretty, so let's get a closer look. Yes, she is a sort of a muted chestnut, and actually, no, she's got primitive markings. I guess that makes her a dun. And she's got beautiful dark points, really nice shading on the face there, and the mane and tail. And she's got 2 half stockings on her back feet. Oh, she's really pretty. I don't have very many red dun horses. I definitely thought she was a chestnut because I couldn't see that dorsal stripe. And she is, of course, this is the G4 Arabian mold, which is also known as Endurance. According to the website, this is supposed to be a part Arabian, so I suppose she could also be an Anglo-Arabian. But with that dished face, she's definitely mostly Arabian. I remember one of the first stablemates I fell in love with was on this mold, so I'm happy to see her again. All right, let's get into blind bag number 2. Who could it be? Awesome, we got the Hanoverian. I have a soft spot for this mold despite the fact that it refuses to stand up and will tip over at any opportunity. I just love it, something about it, the dynamicism of it and how regal he looks with his face and the braided mane. Now, this is a very dark bay, and he looks a lot darker in real life than he did on the packaging. I'm not sure if the camera's going to get that, but on the packaging he looks a little bit more like a blood bay, a dark blood bay, but in person he is a liver bay. He's very, very dark. There's almost no difference between the body color and that black shading on the points. But he does get darker towards the knees. He's got 4 white stockings and a short stripe. And he's also got a little bit of paler shading on the face, which is nice. Sets off that marking a little bit. And he's got dark shading, of course, on the mane and tail as well. You can really see the braids there. The mold came out really nicely on this one. I do love this mold. Don't look at the tail. The tail is fine. Don't look at that banged tail. But the shading is really beautiful on this model as well, so I'm very happy that we got him. And before I forget, this is the G4 Hanoverian mold. All right, who's next? Let's see. We have got, yes, we got the Ardennes. Wow, okay, he's metallic. I wasn't expecting that. Look how shiny. Okay, he's not entirely metallic like the unicorns are, but there's a definite shine on that coat that I was not expecting. It doesn't show up like that in the photo on the back of the packaging. But in person, it's just gorgeous. This shading is incredible. I don't see a dorsal stripe, so I think he's not Gruyere, he's actually a Bay Roan. But the actual the coat itself doesn't have a lot of flecking on it, so I suppose he could also possibly be a buckskin. He does have those dark points, all 4 feet, and then a white half stocking on the back foot here. No facial markings, and a dark mane and tail. I really hope the camera is getting the shading on the coat. I think the shininess might make it hard to see, but there's a lot of variation there, especially in the muscle definitions, like the creases here. It does get darker and a little bit warmer. This color is just gorgeous. I did not expect to be this impressed. I think he might actually be my favorite so far. All right, we're down to our last blind bag. Let's see who it is. Yes, oh wow, okay, look at this. So this is the G4 Reigning mold, which is another one of my favorites, but look at that color. I think this horse is definitely classified as metallic. There's no way that's not metallic. Look at that, look how shiny he is. He's practically silver. So getting a closer look at that coat, definitely a flea-bitten gray, but the dapples are black instead of gray. We've got dark points and no facial markings. The mane is actually almost black, but the tail is silver. So that's an interesting difference there. And we've got dark shading on the muzzle as well. But what really impresses me is the absolute luminescence of this mold. That is a pearl finish for sure. I was not expecting that. It's also kind of weird that these two are so shiny and then the first two are perfectly normal. Does this qualify as a decorator? Let me know in the comments. I do think it's really fun that Breyer is throwing in that variation and finishes, not just colors, because I did, sort of know what I was going to get from looking at the back of the package, but the finish was indeed a complete surprise. So that was fun. All right, so here's our little herd we've got going on here, mixed with unicorns and just regular horses, but we love them all equally. We had some really nice surprises today. I am excited to add some new molds into my collection, as well as some new colors, especially this pearly flea-bitten gray. Wow, he's stunning. Given how these unicorns are looking, I might actually start collecting them too, so stay tuned for that. But until next time, I guess I'll have to see you in my next video. Bye!